I'm making a small quickie batch of green seasoning. So since I promised somebody I would video some recipes for them, and they all start with green seasoning, I'm gonna give it a go and see if I can get some good footage for this. Starting with the recipes, and the person I'm making this for is just starting to get interested in cooking, so we're gonna go into some basics here. First and foremost, you should do the shopping yourself. Don't let your grandmother. Don't put this on your grandma, because a couple of the ingredients are going to be kind of not normal. I mean, they're normal, but they're not the kind of thing people in the Midwest are usually looking for. So, that said, you're going to want to go and you're going to want to get actual fresh herbs. You're going to want to get parsley. This is parsley, thyme, and cilantro. We got some cilantro here. So you're going to want to go and get green, fresh herbs. You don't want to use dry for this. And these are a little wilty, but that was the best I could find at the store I was in. You generally want to get the freshest vegetables for this that you can. The fresher the vegetables you get, the longer the seasoning will last in the fridge. Okay, that said, you're going to want to go get the green actual herbs. You don't want to put an onion in this. An onion, a white or a yellow or a red onion, will overpower the taste of the seasoning. What you want for this is shallots. And these are small, but they look like little onions, and sometimes they're purple. They'll be in the onion section, but you're looking for shallots, not onion. You want fresh garlic. Use fresh garlic. Peppers. You can use bell peppers, or you can use the little sweet peppers. I'm using bell peppers this time because that's what I have. But generally when I've made it in the past, I've used the little sweet peppers. You can get either. Either will work just fine. And you want a bunch of green onions. And you want you want the spring onions. And that's all you need, really. You're not going to want to put any salt in this. You're not going to want to put any pepper or ginger or anything like this, because this is going to be a base ingredient for future dishes. You want to keep these flavors as much as possible. With this recipe, it's subjective. If you don't like thyme, don't put thyme in. If you don't like parsley, don't put parsley in. If you do like oregano or anything like that, you can put that in. Just get the fresh herbs when you do that. And again, if you don't want a lot of parsley, don't put a lot of parsley in. If you want a lot of parsley, put a lot of parsley in. This is something that you can tailor to your own taste. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and clean and chop and get everything in the bowl, and then we'll look at what we do next. With the thyme, you don't want to use the big woody stems, but the smaller green stems are okay. Generally, if you try stripping the leaves off the stem and the stem breaks, it's okay to let it put in, but don't use the big woody stuff. Try to strip the leaves off of that. I usually start with the thyme, and it's going to come in a package like this. Most of the places around here, this is what you're going to find. You're not going to find a bunch of thyme like you will the parsley. You'll find a bunch of parsley, and you might find a bunch of cilantro, but you're not going to find a bunch of thyme. It's going to come in one of those little plastic packages. I use the entire plastic pack, and that's the thyme, all the leaves all stripped off the big stems. Like I said, if the green stem breaks when you're stripping the leaves off, it should be fine, because you're gonna grind this up later. But you don't want to leave, this is what I've got left. You don't want to use things like that.
Johnny, did you see him? Yeah, I saw him.
Alright, this is the cilantro I got this time. And it came in a little plastic package too. And again, you're going to want to strip the leaves off the big stems. You don't want to use the big stems. You want to get the little stems and the leaves. Okay, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of parsley. You don't have to use it all. You can set it out for the birds and the animals outside. You can try drying it. You can wrap it up and use it for other stuff. I generally use about as much parsley as I have thyme and cilantro, and I usually use a little less cilantro than thyme. But again, you can tailor this to your own taste, so if you want to put all the parsley in, go for it. And like the thyme and the cilantro, it's going to be a bundle of leaves with big stems. You're going to want pretty much just the leaves for this, so try to get just the leaves picked off and thrown in. I used a whole bunch of green onions. I like green onions, so I'd put even more in, but all I have is one bunch. Alright, there's the shallots all peeled and ready to be chopped up. I don't have to chop this really a lot because I'm going to be taking an immersion blender to it shortly. I'd actually like more than that, but that's all they had, so that's what I'm working with. 3 different bell peppers. I'm starting with half of 3 different bell peppers. I'm going to chop them up and see how much goes in. You don't have to use 3 different ones. If you want to use all green, use all green. If you want to use all red, use all red. If you want to use the red and the green and not the yellow, have that. Just a quantity of peppers, either bell peppers or the little sweet peppers in the packages will do. You don't want to put hot peppers in this. Hot peppers go in the dish, not the seasoning. I went ahead and used all the peppers. I used all 3 halves. I like it with a little more pepper in it. So, but that's about, this is going to make a fairly small batch. I like garlic, so I use the whole big clove of garlic. Again, you can use as little or as much as you like. Alright, this is where things get interesting. You are going to need a blender, either an immersion blender, a regular blender with a cup on it, or a food processor, because we need to totally reduce this to mush. I'm gonna try to start one-handed and we'll see how that goes.
I guess he's gone to the fights. Who's Charlie? Who say that last? Just got out of the jug.
Okay. Oh. There we go. Got it where I can get the button. Okay, I'm going to have to speed this up a bit. I'll show it to you again after it's done. Pureed. Just keep going until it looks like this. Here you will add a little bit of olive oil. Generally you add olive oil to get it looser, but this one's actually pretty loose, so I'm not going to add too much olive oil. I'm just going to add a splash. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit. The olive oil will help preserve it and keep it in the refrigerator for a while. And it's not too overly gloppy, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit more. I don't want it really liquid. I just want to just put some olive oil in it, and I think that's going to be enough. This isn't a big batch. This is a smaller batch. Okay, and I am going to add the juice of 1 lemon. This is for preservative purposes. It'll help it keep in the refrigerator. You can either use a real lemon, or you can use, if you've got a bottle of lemon juice or the little squeezy lemons, you can use that. It's your choice. You're going to want to put it in a somewhat airtight container. A mason jar with a plastic lid is a good option. You can use Tupperware or plastic. Make sure whatever you used is cleaned really well before you put the green seasoning in, and the more airtight the container, the longer the green seasoning will last. And it lasts for quite a while. You'll know it's going bad if it gets a smell to it, or if you start seeing mold. Then you need to throw it away. Starting with the green seasoning, because you need the green seasoning for everything else. If you want to make coconut beef, you need the green seasoning. If you want to do stewed red beans, you need the green seasoning. If you want to do the pepper pot, you need the green seasoning. I use the green seasoning in a lot of stuff. So this is where you start. Not hard. You can do it in a regular blender, regular old kitchen blender, which your grandmother probably has. You can do it in a food processor if you have access to one. Or you can use an immersion blender if you have one of those. If you like cooking, if you're going to continue doing it, you need to start thinking about putting together your own collection of cooking gear. It's good to have your own stuff to work with. I would recommend, as a good starter piece of equipment, a decent immersion blender. An immersion blender will do you can make milkshakes, you can make smoothies, you can puree vegetables. It'll do everything a countertop blender or a food processor will do. The advantages of the immersion blender is A, it's cheaper. 25 to 30 bucks should get you a fairly decent immersion blender that'll last for a little while. B, it's smaller. It's easier to store. It's not some huge piece of equipment that you need to find space for. It's easier to pack, it's easier to move, it's easier to store. And it's easier to use. Way easier to use. You saw, I put stuff in a bowl, I put the immersion blender in, and I pureed it up just fine. The immersion blender is going to be way easier to use and clean than a food processor will be. If you rinse it as soon as you get done with it, cleanup is a breeze. So think about getting yourself a decent immersion blender. Just FYI.